All right, everybody, it's time. We're back. It is Techno Saturdays. I am John Selway. This is 343 TV. Good to be here with everybody. Let's check out who's in the chat today. Who was first today? Nice one. So technically, the winner, I think they came in about a second apart, but it looks like John Wayne came in first to the chat with Daze, which is, as you know from the title, the name, part of the name of the guest I have today, Danny Daze. We'll bring him on in a few moments. What is up, John H. Kingston III? You're usually the first one in the chat. You almost made it this time again. Nice to see you here again. Chris White, welcome. He's a fan of yours. He's been playing a lot of Danny's. He's been playing a lot of his records over the years. That's nice. What's up, Pavel? Pavel's a regular here, one of my students currently in an Ableton Live class at 343 Labs, which, of course, is who is running this whole shebang here. 343 TV is brought to you by 343 Labs. We're a music production school based in New York and in Berlin. We have in-person classes going again. I can't believe I'm saying that. It seems like things have really improved here, especially in New York. We've got our online courses going on. I'm doing that. I do, as I mentioned, I've got the Ableton class that I just took over from my good friend Abe Duque, who's also, as you know, if you're a regular, one of our streamers here and an instructor at 343 Labs. And I do a synthesis and sound design for producers course, which is supposed to be starting this month. If you're on the fence about whether you want to jump in, now is the time. So check out our info down in the details. You can look at our website for New York, and we also have a German website for classes offered in Berlin, and see what courses we have on offer and all the info you need to know. We do private lessons as well. If you're looking for something more targeted and focused, that's something I like to do. And that's something you can also look up on the website. And of course, part of the reason we do this live stream, 343 TV, is to reach out, share what we do, represent the school, and grow our community. We have that, our Discord server's been building for a little while. If you haven't joined already, please do. The link again is in the description. And we do a lot of events through the Discord server. I believe we have a sample challenge coming up. The due date is July, I want to say 4th, but maybe it's 5th. It's right around the July 4th weekend. But all that info you can find if you join the Discord as to how you can join in on that sample challenge. It's a lot of fun, and we do a live stream with the submissions and pick a winner, and there will be a prize. I believe it's the entire Arturia V collection, if I get it right. Someone, if I'm wrong, correct me. Whoever from 343 is on here. Hey, Max Wild, happy Saturday. What else is going on here in the chat as I ramble on and take care of business? Right. We have a giveaway as usual. Another Arturia sponsored item. Enter for your chance. Look out for the link here in the chat to win a copy of Pigments, the really powerful and awesome sounding, I like to call it a hybrid synthesizer, right? We were just talking about this with Danny, actually. It has virtual analog oscillators, and if you're familiar with Arturia, their virtual analog instruments sound amazing, right? Whatever algorithms they've got going on work really well. It's a wavetable synth along the lines of Serum, etc. And it's got a new additive engine. I believe it's called the harmonic engine, which sounds really beautiful. Having all these different textures to combine in a synth is excellent. It does sampling, and it does granular synthesis and sampling. It's got built-in effects. I don't know. It's got amazing modulation possibilities. It's one of my favorite synths. So if you want to win that, look for the link here in the chat. Join in as soon as you can. We're going to announce the winner near the end of the show, right about quarter of. So one last look at the chat. Hey, Kai Struckel, nice to see you here again. Nefertiti, another student and now a member of the 343 team, is here. Enigmatic Onion, you got the Isotope Community Bundle, and Stutter Edit 2 is a really cool plugin. I have the old Stutter Edit. I need to check out the new one. All right. Without further ado, let's finally bring in our guest today, none other than Danny Daze. What's going on?
Yo, what up? How's it going over there?
Pretty good. I'm in my usual sort of hyper state at the beginning of the show, and
I get it.
Yeah, I was saying before, like I haven't been gigging in a long time, but I get a similar rush or a little bit of a constructive anxiety right before a gig, where I get myself kind of worked up, and then I think, is it going to be good? What am I doing? If I got everything ready to go, and then I jump on and it's fine. So I think
first track and you're good to go.
Exactly. And then
Yeah.
here on the stream, I love doing this, well, for a lot of different reasons. Having guests on like you is really fun, reaching out, connecting with people that I know already or that I want to get to know or whose music I appreciate. And you're definitely one of those. Been into your music
Thank
for a
you.
while. You've got a really
Thank you.
great label. Let's see, actually, I brought that up so we could take a look at it. Oh, that's Tetro. Omnidisc is a really great label. That's your Bandcamp page, right?
Yeah.
Cool. So
Yeah.
anyway, let's talk a little bit. And I've got some of your music queued up here now that I get my
Cool.
scenes in order. And tell us a little bit about what you're working on nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, this pandemic actually finally let me finish an album. So I was working on an album for the last 3 years. I basically produced about 100 tracks, and then I narrowed it down to 20, and I finally finished the album. And it's one of the pieces of like art that I've ever done that I've probably put the most work amount, the most amount of work into.
Nice.
For sure. Yeah.
I have
And
to
finally it's done.
Good. No, that's a good feeling. I've never been much of an album guy. I've done exactly one solo album in my entire career at the end of the 90s. That's how long it's been.
Wow.
Of course, I did an album with Christian Smith, which is also a number of years ago. It's funny. People have asked me, why have you never done an album? And I'm like, well, I have, but I just have, I'm always changing my focus in different styles of music. I don't know. That actually, I probably should use that. And that's one thing I noticed about some of the tracks you sent to check out is that this album's a little different from some of what I've heard from you before.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I come from like a pretty wide range of sound here in Miami. And this album that I worked on is exactly that. It goes all over the place, and it's not. It sounds like it's coming from the same producer, just being the melting pot that we are in Miami, going from IDM to house to jungle to trip hop to Miami bass. The influences are all there. The album is mixed, so it's like a one sitting sort of thing and now we're putting the visuals together. So I definitely want people to just sit and listen, which is something that I think a lot of people don't do anymore. And that's kind of what was holding me back for a long time from making an album, like you said, where, like for me, this thing just goes absolutely everywhere.
That's excellent. That's talk about making the most out of a difficult situation. Obviously you haven't been on the road for the last year so much, and taking that time, being able to take that time, I like to count like people who are doing what we're doing as relatively fortunate. You lost a bunch of gigs, but you've been able to have time to do this and, keep things moving creatively. So that's excellent. Let's actually listen to some. Are these tracks that you sent, by the way, are they all from the album?
No, I don't think I sent. I don't think I sent anything from the album.
So it's that new. You only shared some previously. Okay, so that said, you still sent me a nice variety of stuff. So I know. Like, I like. You've kind of been into techno, electro, house, and all the variations in between. I'm definitely on the electro tip, that kind of Miami influenced.
For sure, yeah. I play a lot of your records. I know exactly what you do, man. I play a lot of your records.
No, I really appreciate that. So that's that's why you've been on my radar.
But
let's check out a little bit of what's going on here. I'm just gonna put it on the background a little bit, and this track is called Orb. What release is this one from?
This was just a various artist thing that came out on one of my friends' labels called Life and Death, which is Manfredi, DJ Tennis. He's a really good buddy of mine, and this is kind of like I don't even know what this is. I guess a jungle 90s. I have no idea what this is, to be honest. But I sampled kids in church with this one. Like
a choir.
The choir, yeah. When we were just hanging out in Barcelona.
Nice. I coincidentally, this whole week I've been doing a mixing job for my parents. My mom runs a children's choir. And they're doing, they haven't been able to get together and sing for obvious reasons. So I've been helping her on the technology side, and we're getting them to record everybody and do choir videos. So I've been like listening to multi-layered mixes of virtual choir, for hours and hours this week. It's something. And I was just thinking last night, I should sample some of this stuff because it sounds amazing.
Oh wow, yeah.
Especially when you put effects on it, it was really beautiful.
Yeah, and if you throw that on a sampler, and oh god, I love that stuff for sure.
This is definitely giving me some like 90s, a little bit of trip hop, IDM-ish
That's exactly
vibes.
what I was going for. Yeah, that's exactly what I was going for. Trip hop sound, but then it flips. The track flips into something else. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah.
What are some of the, besides the samples of the choir, what are some of the instruments you used in this one?
This is literally all, this was done on the road. This was done like on an airplane, basically.
Nice.
So this is all me just finding actual audio samples and manipulation. None of this was any of my gear.
Okay. Maybe some plugins.
I don't even think this is plugins, to be honest.
Samples.
Just samples, yeah. Me just messing around with arpeggiation. Yeah. And maybe some old samples of like maybe the ATC 1X, which is one of my favorite synths, which I can tell now it is.
I am not, that's not ringing a bell with me. What ATC? Studio Electronics ATC 1X. Okay.
Yeah. It's a very like hip hop producers used to use it a lot. It's my favorite bass synth. Yeah.
Is it kind of like a Moog style synth?
It's mono. Yeah, it's mono, and then it has 4 filters in it where you could switch. You go from SEM to ARP 2600 to yeah. The one that I have is quite rare. The one that I have is the ATC 1X, and I've never seen it before, where it has 4 built-in filters, where usually you have to have an external cartridge holder for the filters. Mine, for some reason, it has it inside, and I've never seen it before. If anybody out there knows why I have that one, please let me know, because I've hit up Studio Electronics and they've never replied. So
that's strange.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can see here I brought up the image of this rack. So that's one of the things that I thought was cool that we could talk about today, is because I've noticed in a lot of your tracks you have some very distinctive synth sounds, and sometimes it wasn't, because all right, if you're a good programmer, like sound designer, you can make almost any sound with any synth, or at least make any kind of good sound, depending on how you use it and effects and everything. But like, there's always a little like edge to some of your sounds that I was curious about, because I wasn't sure what you were using, and it's synths like this that's definitely making the difference, because not a lot of people have something like this.
Most of the synths that I have are they sit in a certain frequency spectrum, and they sit in a place where they each do their thing, whether it's a wavetable synthesizer or a pure analog synth, or something in the middle, or a semi-modular certain thing. They all do something different. I'm not going to have a Moog Voyager and then also have something that sounds exactly like it as well. Like there's no point. So yeah, everything kind of fits in its own little spectrum.
That's cool. No, that makes sense. You're picking the instruments that have the sound and the vibe that you want, and then how they all fit together in the way you want.
Yeah,
and you can kind of think that way. That goes along with, this is something that I talk about in classes, and I've done even a workshop on this, about like setting limitations for yourself as a producer.
Right.
And especially for working in the box. If you're on a computer and you can have every synth ever made practically, you can just have millions of sounds, millions of sample packs, millions of audio effects plugins, and too many choices can stifle you, and it can also make things directionless. If you really try to focus on limiting your instruments and the gear that you work with, and finding stuff that you really react to positively and that has the kind of sound that excites you, and only use that, especially to start, you can you're going to get to where you want to go more quickly than having to make a million different decisions about which plugin or whatever to use, right?
I try and actually make music. Like, for example, this guy right here, I don't know if you can see it, but this little air synth thing.
Oh, yeah.
I've made a full track just off of this.
Sampling it?
Well, yeah. I mean, it has everything. It has kicks, snares, everything, and then it has weird little things where you just start moving your hand around and it creates weird synth sounds.
It's got like some kind of a light sensor on it, right? And you just
exactly.
Cool.
So I purposely did an entire track only off of that, and that one made the album. That one actually made the album, and it's really good just to limit yourself, because if not, like you said, you're going to stifle yourself. You're going to end up, I have so many different synths I can use. What am I going to do with this? Just get one synth and try and do as much as you can from it.
Nice. That's great. Let's move on to another track. This one is called Mind Fluck.
Mindfluck, yeah.
This one's
pretty crazy with this one.
One's pretty Pretty crazy. I like
The
it.
low end on this one destroys rooms. Like it just fills up the entire room. It's just pure bass the entire time.
Now that's dangerous. I have to say, like from a kind of an audio mixing perspective or a mixing and mastering perspective, it's really hard to mix a track that's so overwhelming with the bass that doesn't just sound like mud on a big system. So how do you deal with that?
Usually I layer. Usually, I mean, I separate the frequencies, and I definitely layer, and there's a lot of EQing involved. And then you have to make sure and you're choosing the right note, because if you go A, sometimes A doesn't sound good. You hit C, it sounds perfect. So it's all about that note and that, what that sine wave is doing, what that actual wave is doing, what it's actually doing to the speaker.
The bass.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's just, that one like destroys rooms. When you hear it in a room, it actually just hugs the entire room.
Now I'm gonna put my spectrum analyzer on this. I want to look at it. I'm listening. All right, these speakers have not speakers. Headphones have a pretty deep extension. It's definitely, they can reproduce below 20.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean you can't hear that, but they start vibrating. So I want to see like how deep did you let it go? Because it's really, I mean it's mastered. This is mastered, right?
Yeah.
Gotta be.
Yep.
All right. So any of you out there listening on a laptop or on a phone without headphones, you're not getting half of this. Just so you know, put your headphones in if you want to try to hear something on this track, besides little crackling noises on the top and weird vocal samples. All right, so I'm going to get this spectrum analyzer out and take a look. Should be interesting. Oh, good gosh. It's actually not as crazy as I thought.
Yeah, it's hitting the exact frequency that I wanted it to, and it. Yeah.
I mean, there is more infrasonic. Infrasonic is below the range of human hearing, right?
Yeah.
There is a heavy amount of infrasonic information in this, and that's something that usually people tell you to cut out. What do you think about that?
They're essentially, you're making the speakers work for no reason sometimes. I mean, well, if you're talking about hearing, you're not gonna be able to hear it, but if you're talking about feeling, you're making those subwoofers work.
And right there, we got a peak at about 40 hertz. And that's at like, 40. I feel like most kick drums are their fundamental is like 50. Like your typical 909 808 kick is 50 hertz almost on the nose. So it's a little lower, so the kick is already feeling a little, and that main bass note is always feeling a little lower than normal. And then it's bending down. You can see it going to go, and it's going all the way down below, off the scale. It's going down below 10 hertz.
Right, yeah.
Now,
you feel it. In a club, you feel it.
You know what you feel? You feel that because if the speakers can't reproduce 10 hertz, you won't hear it. But what's happening, I think, is that the amplifiers are going to distort and clip at that level, and it's going to create harmonics, and it's going to make the audible bass sound bigger.
Gotcha.
If the system can handle it, I bet you there's systems that can't handle this track.
Yeah, there's some systems, of course, that they won't be able to handle that kind of vibration. 10 hertz, that speaker's not really doing that much. That speaker's just literally doing this real slow. Yeah.
I'm just curious. All right, so again, every time if you watch a YouTube video about how to mix bass and stuff, they're always telling you over and over to do something like this. I'm gonna mess it up. I'm gonna put a high pass filter on. I'm gonna cut out all that stuff that everybody says you have to cut out. Does it still sound good? I don't know. We can't hear it. I'm just curious to see if it negatively affects it.
Well, are you putting a really high Q on it? Like a super high Q?
I can. There it is.
And external Q, exponential.
Yeah, like right now, I put the frequency at 40 to hit that fundamental.
Yeah.
But you know what? All right, we can't hear it anyway, but it feels different. In these headphones especially, because they can reproduce lower than like 20, basically, when that's missing, it loses impact.
Yeah, it loses. I mean, I'm sure it'll lose impact. Well, obviously for vinyl, it's different. I think for vinyl, they're cutting everything under 70. So
well,
you
yeah,
probably
on
only have
vinyl,
fluent
you're
in
not
vinyl.
going to get this anyway. That's mechanically impossible. A
Yeah,
record,
it'll needle will jump, or you just won't. Yeah, you just won't be able to do it.
right? So yeah, if this was being cut to vinyl, it's going to be something like they're going to do the mid side. They're going to cut all of the bass up to like 70 hertz.
Right.
In the stereo. You can put more in
Yep.
the mono though. So
Right.
And then they'd probably, I've seen like my friend Tim Xavier, I've seen him like do like really tough, punchy techno records, and he'll
I think
cut
he
up.
mastered this.
Nice.
He's the one that mastered this.
So
Yeah, I
he
think
was
Tim
smart.
Yeah.
He knew to leave the sub. He knew like, because that's another thing you'll hear. Mastering engineers always roll off the low end. I'm like, if it needs it,
right.
that's what he does. If it doesn't need it, if the track wants 10 hertz in it, then leave it.
Yeah,
or
I'm
if
not
the
sure
client
if it was
wants
him
it.
that mastered it or Bo. It might have been Bo. That man-made. It's either man-made mastering is Tim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bo is. I completely forgot. Bo Thomas. I forgot what he is. It was one of them too.
I've had Tim on as a guest a couple times. He's a good old friend, and I want to get him on. He hasn't been able to do it this year because he's been busy. I think they like moved their studio to a new location, and they got this whole new amazing acoustic installation. It looks beautiful. It's all custom.
Yeah.
I want him to come on the show and demonstrate a lacquer cut.
Oh, sick!
I want to do a live streamed lacquer cut with Tim Xavier. I don't know if you're watching today, but remember we talked about it. You said you were okay with it, so let's do it.
That'd be pretty sick. Yeah,
I'm just gonna listen to this again real quick with that typical move that you would see in mastering for sub bass like that. It still works. It still sounds good doing this, but I feel like
forward it a little bit. Like we're back to like halfway in if you can, or I don't even know if you can because it's not warped. Oh yeah, there you go.
It's still bassy, but it kind of has, you can hear it's kind of bunched up the bass in one spot, whereas before it sounded like deep.
Yeah.
Now that's funny.
There's a synth part in the middle. I'm curious to see what it looks like if you go a little further up. Even more than that. Let's keep going.
It gets crunchy.
There we go.
Well, that comes through. Like the mids and the highs are clean in this track.
Yeah.
There's some dirtiness to some of the sounds in there, but the mix is clean. I'll turn it up a little bit. The sub is gone now. I'm guessing it's going to come back after this break.
Yeah, it'll come back. Yeah.
I'm going to turn all this off now. Subtle.
Yeah.
When you lose it, when that bass bends down, that goes away completely when you high pass it.
Right. Yeah.
So that's
what I don't want.
Yeah.
That's what I don't want. Yeah.
Cool. No, it's funny we're getting into these little minutia details of like bass but people want to know this stuff. I got to tell you.
Yeah,
like,
I mean, that's one of the reasons. That's one of the reasons I think people know me is for the what I do with the bass, and I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. I'm not. I do understand the some of the science behind it, but some of the science doesn't matter. Like if it sounds dope, it sounds dope. That's it. I've purposely mixed down things that just are on the red, and when you go to a club, it's just like, yep, the nasty version sounds better.
Yeah, I've done that too. I've like done a mix and thought, oh, this is messy, and then done another mix that was like cleaned up and balanced, and then I tried them both out, and I picked the first raw one.
The messy, yeah, that's what we want.
It's like the energy comes through, right? Your original idea comes through, and especially with making kind of techno-y stuff, the mixing and the sound design are part of the groove from the beginning. I don't think it's possible to like make a track and not care about the mix and then polish it into something cool. It's possible. People do it all the time, but there's something, but it's a gamble that you're going to lose the original vibe. So I think it's important that how it sounds in the beginning in terms of how the instruments are balanced and processed and mixed together is going to totally inform all of your choices as you progress through making the track.
Yeah. You don't necessarily need to go and if you're making a record, like I make the mistake of doing multi-band compression, multi-band side chaining and stuff all the way at the very end. And sometimes I'm like, damn, the one with the kick and the disgusting bass both just kind of overlapping each other. They just sound nice. It sounds like they're fighting, and I like that sound.
Nice.
I like that sound. Yeah. So maybe, sometimes you end up some multi-band side chaining, which, it'll help the engineer, whoever's doing the mastering. But for me, when I'm playing out and I'm playing my little fake masters that I make, I'll sometimes just go for the dirtiest cut.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. We got a specific question here about this nerdy EQ talk that we're doing from Shelly. What if you made the cut a little steeper and then pushed it so it was cutting everything below 10 or 15? Does that get rid of the subfrequency you don't hear but clean it up at the same time? I mean, all right, we can't hear below 20. If you're a human and you can hear below 20, you're like a unicorn.
You're not.
Right?
You're not human. If you're human, you're not human.
So, but for the mix, that might help this mix translate mechanically if I go, leave in that subnote that we like. Because, below 10 is, I don't know if you're familiar with the concept of DC offset. Are you, Dan?
Yeah.
So that can sometimes, that's a rare thing that happens sometimes. Usually it used to happen going in from analog to digital converters. It would create a DC offset and your waveform would get messed up. And you would fix it by doing a high pass filter at like 10 hertz.
Right.
So essentially what I'm doing here, if I do a super steep high pass at 10 hertz, probably without the resonance, that's like a DC offset. And that can actually help gain headroom in your mix that's really subby.
Right.
So that could be a good thing. And that's also that way you're not going to lose all of the deep infrasonic bass that we want for the vibe.
Yeah.
But it's going to help translate. So, but that could be helpful.
Cool.
All right. Let's see. Let's check out another track. This is going good. I like what's going on here today. We're listening to cool music. We're getting nerdy. We're getting some good questions. All right. This one, I believe, is more of an electro kind of a vibe.
Yeah.
Positive ventilation.
Yeah. I did this. When did I do this? This was last year, I believe. And I did it with this guy named Defect.
I know that name.
Yeah, Defect from the. Where's he from?
That I don't know.
Dublin. I believe he's from Dublin. Yeah. And this is actually all. I believe this might be all samples. Yeah, this one's all samples.
So that's a choice for you.
I'll purposely limit myself to try. This is that bass is just literally one note. Boom, boom, boom. And it actually had the delay in it already. That boom, 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 boom,
right.
boom, boom. There's a little delay in it, and I just threw it on a sampler and just went up and down with it. Yeah. So I'll purposely limit myself to just do something on a computer to get a completely different sound than if I just hang around here in my studio and do everything in a studio. Just a different vibe that I was going for at the time. And even the vocals that come in are from an old house record. Yeah.
Yeah, sampling is definitely a big part of all of this. And I have to say, I like using a lot of synths, like my own sounds that I make and process from scratch.
Right.
But it sounds like sometimes I want the sample workflow, because it results in a different vibe in the end.
Yeah,
and it really
totally sounds different.
And if you want both, and this is, I think you you work like this a lot. You make crazy sounds on your synths, put them into audio, and then make your tracks out of the audio.
Exactly.
Yeah. We're gonna look at that in a little bit. Let me just turn this down for a second. We're about halfway through the show today. Thanks to everyone who's joined us today so far. There's a lot of new names. I think you've got some friends and fans in the chat that are familiar with you.
Everybody.
And let's see. I'm just scrolling up the chat a little bit to see. BK. All right. We cannot promise this, but BK is requesting something. He's saying, I noticed your hat. Do you have those for sale in your Bandcamp?
I think we sold out, but I'm making these are brand new. The one that I have on right now is like a skater hat, so I'm gonna make the skater hats. All the dad hats are pretty much sold out.
I got it.
And I do got this little guy here, which is like the pink ones.
Oh, that's
the
nice
pink
too.
ones are those are cute.
I don't know if I can pull off that one.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, you might be able to. Why not?
It would match my face too much. Look how pink I am.
Oh yeah, camouflage. Camo, like where'd John go? Yeah.
Nice. Nefertiti
Yeah.
Gold, she's a student of mine. She's a singer and a producer, and we were talking about Miami before and the Latin and Caribbean influence she's pointing out in the music there.
Nice.
So would you say that's a big part of what you do?
Yeah, syncopation is a pretty big thing for me.
Definitely.
Yeah, syncopation for sure is a syncopation and randomness, which is a lot of that is in, you know, salsa, merengue. You know, it's a very big thing in the Latin Cuban community for sure.
There's like a constant evolution of the groove going on, which I
Yeah,
love.
yeah,
And
yeah.
that's something that I like to apply when I can, when it's appropriate in my music, even subtly, just to have, like, I just did a track for Tronic is doing, Christian Smith's label is doing another electro compilation. And
Sick.
it's for me, it's pretty. I was kind of trying to think like Tronic style, like it's not too wacky electro, it's not too underground, it's not too nerdy. It's kind of like driving, punchy dance floor.
Yeah.
You know, it's honestly, it's not breaking any boundaries, but I had fun doing it and it has some good sounds in it. And I was trying to
Nice.
find subtle ways to get some of that sophisticated syncopation in there, and I did it in the hi-hats. I have these like random, semi-random syncopation with the hi-hats. So you know, the whole track is like boom, bap, like straight. But the hi-hats have the little feel in it. And that that little subtle thing helped a lot to get the groove going.
Yeah.
Speaking of groove, there was a question in here for you. Well, first of all, hey, James Fear from Science Cult, welcome. Nice to see you here. He says, oh boy, now this is American Electro, Selway and Daze. Danny, you're a big inspiration.
Oh, thanks, man.
That's a really nice comment there. Let's see. Where was that question for you? From BK again. Interested to hear Danny Daze's production process on finding the groove, the vibe, the feeling, which is kind of what we were just alluding to with this, maybe some of the Latin influence and having evolving grooves. So maybe, I mean, we're going to look at your project here very shortly. So maybe that's something, you know, we can point out in there. Let me just remind everybody to join the giveaway. If you haven't already, we're going to be announcing the winner in approximately 15 minutes or so. It'll be here in the chat. And then when I see it, I will shout it out on the air. Let's see. Now, you ready to share? You ready to show us your project?
Sure. Let's do it, man.
Excellent. Okay. So
yeah. Well, we're gonna listen to another track, or we're good to go?
Yeah, I think we're good. We're halfway through. Let's put some time into. You had one more track. Actually, wait. I'll let you decide. Do you want to check out one more track?
No, I mean, it was a crazy hip hop record, but it's fine. Don't even worry about it. We can jump onto here.
I'll tell everybody the name of the track is Twisted, and it's available. So if anybody wants to check it out, you can. You know, where can they find it?
That one came out on Schematic Records. So you can just, if you type Danny Daze Twisted, it'll on Google, it'll probably just pop up to the Schematic Records Bandcamp.
And if Schematic's a new label for you guys. They've been around since the 90s. They're a groundbreaking label from Miami, covering experimental, IDM, electro, and beyond. And they're still around and still as killer as ever. So definitely, and you know, they're like one of the best labels Miami's ever had, for sure, right? For sure.
Oh yeah, or one of the best labels I've ever heard ever.
Period.
So I
They're
mean,
up there.
yeah, it's ran by Romulo del Castillo. He goes by the name Phoenicia. He also goes by the name Soul Oddity.
Right, Soul Oddity. That was my introduction to those guys.
Yeah, that's him. Him and Joshua K.
Yeah, I was at that time. I was working at Satellite Records in New York, and
nice.
I would occasionally handle some of the orders of distribution, and there were some white labels that came through of the first Soul Oddity ones, and they had started their label around the same time, right? Didn't they already have Schematic Records around then?
The Astral Works stuff. Yeah, like they released that Tone Capsule album, which for me is it's something that people have to go listen to that.
You do, and you'll see how relevant it still is. It's really
it's insane. I still play those records, and they were playing, and they were making that music in '95 or something like that.
Exactly.
It's bananas. It's bananas.
Nice. So definitely, obviously, a big influence on both of us. Cool. So what have you got here in your live session?
So you can see you guys are good here. This record here is called A Beautiful Silver Box. This is actually one of the tracks that's coming out on my album. And I kind of just wanted to show off what we were doing here. I did this track with two of my buddies actually, because I wanted to feature, some people from Miami. So I got Johnny from Space and Nick Leon to just come in the studio, and we just stayed here for 18 hours making music for literally that long. Drank a couple beers and then we made a couple tracks. This is one of them. And I kind of just wanted to, basically show like what it is that I do with my kicks sometime. I don't know, should I just play it?
Go ahead, let's have a listen and let's see what's going down.
Yeah. You can ask whatever you want.
What's that first sound?
I'll open up some parts.
What is that noise?
So this right here, let me see if I open it right here. It's just a random noise that I recorded, I guess, with that air synth that I showed you.
Right.
That's the air synth. Yeah. And then I'm gonna take the kick off for here. Yeah. So that's the Fizmo that you're hearing coming in. That ARP.
The Ensoniq Fizmo.
Yeah, Ensoniq Fizmo, which is one of my favorite synths. It's one of my weapons.
Another one of these kind of unique sounds that I was referring to earlier. It's a keyboard or a module?
No, it's a keyboard. Yeah, it's a really cool looking keyboard. It's purple and it's what's it called? It's wavetable, so you hold one note down and it just does crazy stuff.
Is it hard to program?
No. I mean, it has tricky little things where since it is FM, you know, you move one thing slightly and it's just going nuts. So I tend not to move it too much. Yeah. So here we So this album is a bit of a journey. This is one of the more dancey tracks, but it's definitely not even dancey. Let me see where the bass is. I remember I did something here with the bass. Here we go. I did two different parts to the bass. You'll see right here. See, it gets quiet.
I'm with you.
There you
go. Oh man.
Yeah.
A little bit of drum and bass vibes here, isn't it?
Yeah. Now have a drive. Yeah, then you'll see we got here. So this guy right here, this blue one here is I'm
vibing with this. This is good.
This is my Andromeda. I don't know if did I do anything to? No, I didn't. I think I recorded it. Yeah,
I'm seeing a lot of audio in here. So like, I'm not seeing like virtual instruments. This is definitely
this is
like
a lot of audio.
So that's is that your main workflow pretty much?
This is all my studio. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, are there some plugin synths that you like to use?
I gotta be, but mostly all they're actually analog-based stuff, like the Spectrasonics stuff that, you know, they're actually audio. So what is it, Trillion and Omnisphere? I'll use that because they're
sample-based synths.
Sample-based synths, yeah.
Yeah, I've been thinking about, you know, in the sound design and synthesis course, when we talk about sampling as a form of synthesis, and I mainly talk about, you know, taking your own samples and making them into synths that you can play. But it might be good to bring in Omnisphere or something like that, because that's an amazingly powerful plugin that does a lot.
Yeah.
I also like how it interfaces with hardware. Do you do that?
No, I don't.
Do you know about it?
No.
It has these templates where you can, like, let's say you have an old MIDI-capable analog synth, like a Juno or something like that. You plug that in as a controller, and it will automatically map the controls from that synth to the relevant controls of Omnisphere.
Gotcha.
So you could plug in your Alesis Andromeda if it's supported, and all of the knobs on the Andromeda will control the Omnisphere to the same or similar parameters.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that alone would be a fun reason to have that plugin if you're a hardware guy.
Let me open up. Watch. Let me see. You'll see this is the MIDI part of the kick, and you'll see how it changes here below. I'm just showing you the difference between the kick MIDI and the actual recorded part. So usually what I do.
How'd you make this?
Let me show automation. Yep. So you can see that I turned off and on. Down here about, you'll see the pitch goes up to 3. What's it called? 3 semitones.
Right. I gotta move your face so people can see the plugin.
Okay, yeah. So you'll see right here it says 3 semitones off and on. I don't know if you guys can see my mouse right here, but if I go back, you'll see what it does to the what actually does to the sampler. So what I'm doing is I'm chopping up a sample and then using different sides of the sample.
Got it.
Rather than playing different notes, I just turn off and on that pitch, so I can look to the side and just say, okay, I want this sound to come up now. Which if I mute it, you'll hear, or sorry, if I solo it, you'll hear the difference between just the tiny little kicks and then the one with a crisp.
Got it.
See that I just said.
Now, you showed this to me earlier, and I pointed something out, which I want to mention because this is kind of it's a learning point. So you're not a trained musical guy. You're not a music theory guy. You don't think about scales and harmonies and keys and so on. But obviously we listen to your music and it is melodic and harmonious, and things are in tune and in key by ear. I think you're following your ear and you're following a workflow that makes sense to you creatively. Now, the reason why I point this out is if anyone out there who uses Live, if you actually keep that up.
Oh, okay, my bad.
No, it's okay. They can see us going into the vortex. That's fun too. But Live Simpler, which you're using, you've got a like some kind of kick drum loop in sampler, and you've got it in slicing mode, so it's automatically finding each one of those little transients is identifying a kick, and it's making like a playable kit out of it. So you can load up if you have a MIDI keyboard controlling this, which I believe you do not have connected right now.
Well, no, I don't even need that. I can do it just right off of here.
I think that's the point, is what I'm trying to make.
If I go here, watch. If I go here, I should... See, there we go.
Or you're using the keys on... Now you're using... But you're using the computer keyboard as a MIDI keyboard.
Yeah, that's what I do on Airplane, so if I go...
Right. No, but getting back to the point, so each one of those slices is available on a different MIDI note, and you could have made a MIDI clip with 2 different notes going back and forth. But instead, you deliberately chose to use automation to do the same thing. And I think that's part of, I'm guessing, and you can confirm, this is like a deliberate choice, is the way you work to get the results you want is to kind of not do the typical stuff.
Yes. I mean, the reason that I guess I did that is because I want to think less. So if I can look to the side and I'm just jamming in the studio and I can hit one note, turn it off, go back and hit another note, it does something different, especially if I'm hitting notes really, really quick. I don't have to hit 2 notes. It does something for me that maybe people are like, what are you talking about? Why don't you just hit 2 notes?
Let me see if I can get it. If you're playing a drum, right? You're not playing, you're hitting one drum. And the tone is changing separately. So you're not playing 2 drums, you're playing 1 drum. So one note's playing 1 drum, and then the automation is doing the expression between the different sounds. That's totally
pretty much
cool.
all it is.
That's great.
Yeah, and it makes things easier, and I get to jam out a little bit more without thinking too much, because these were very random. As you can see, sometimes I'll have, it'll just like do it for a little bit. I'll have just one hit that comes in, and then it leaves and it comes back. Mm-hmm. And that's all because I was just pressing on and off on the pitch, that pitch that moves the MIDI note up and down. I was just doing it live.
Well, that's another thing around. Is that the spontaneity of, I'm just going to automate this right now.
Exactly.
In the moment.
Yeah.
And that's important. The workflow and how it feels to you in the moment is important for getting these results. Some more questions in the chat here, or comments actually. Relevant to this kick drum sound that you're showing off, BK asks how the kick sounds with random off, but I noticed there's a random effect there, but the chances it's 0. So that actually means there is nothing random happening at this point. Yeah, right? There's nothing going on. I think there is this one here. What's that one doing? Which, to be completely honest, I don't think it's doing anything. Or very little. Because it's on sub. And so it means it's taking away taking it away. Yeah, it would push it down. Yeah. But since the actual note is on the 1, I don't think it'll push anything else to the left. No, that's true. The bottom note of this, when you use slicing mode in Simpler, the bottom note is C1, and if you randomly subtract below C1, there's no sound to play. So really that is generating a variation, but what it's doing is it's making it so the kick drum doesn't play sometimes.
It doesn't play. Right. Exactly.
Now, actually, is this Live 10 you're using?
Yes, 10.1.9. Yeah.
So what they did now in Live 11 is in the MIDI clips, you can now choose which notes will have probability. So instead of
I can go in here.
You could go in here, select the notes, and then if you would just reduce the probability so that they randomly play or not, and it would kind of do the same. So it's built into the clips now.
Oh, nice. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't have 11. I need to hit them up.
I think it's a good idea. There's some really cool new stuff in Live 11 for sure.
Nice.
So, what else have you got to show us in here?
Well, I guess like that driving sound, this thing together here.
Oh, and you know what? There's also another. While you're doing that, there's another question,
sure.
Which is relevant more towards your audio sort of workflow. Alan is asking, what do you use for field recording? So I think you mentioned you recorded some the choir in Spain. Was that like we brought some mics over, or
that was literally my iPhone.
Really? You just held up the phone and that was it? That was
the iPhone. But then I have a Zoom. I have a Zoom H5. Is it the H5 or I have a Zoom H5. But that field recording stuff, I'll use anything. I'll use any microphone. It doesn't really matter. Nothing has to be perfect. I enjoy dirt. I enjoy things sounding crappy.
It has character. I mean, if you think about like lo-fi music, it's like putting effects on your nice, clean, pretty synths and loops to make them sound like they're recorded on 50-year-old dusty gear. So
I love the contrast between dirt and just clean. Like even the way that I dress, you know what I mean? I'll have a disgusting shirt with like a nice little, with a cool looking leather jacket or something. You know how people kind of dress. I think the exact same way when it comes to audio. I'll record with anything. If I hear a specific sound, I'm like, okay. These recorders now on the iPhone, although they have a lot of noise, the noise is there. It's still a thing that you can use. So that first track that I showed you guys, that was recorded just with my iPhone.
I agree. Yeah. I mean, one of my favorite. You mentioned earlier making tracks on an airplane. One of my favorite tracks that I did on my one and only album actually was mostly arranged on a laptop, and it has vocals that I recorded through the crappy mic on the laptop on the plane. So the vocals have this like plane noise in the background that it makes it sound like you're kind of. I used it like an effect, and the whole vibe of the song is like a flying kind of a vibe. So the noise from the plane mixed in with the vocal worked perfect. So I totally get what you're saying about combining the noise and the character into your recordings. Yes, you don't have to have the most perfect mic. Just use what you got.
Yeah, if it works, it works. I think people tend to say, "Oh, I can't do it because it has this noise in the background." No, make the noise part of the track.
Exactly.
Make.
How would you do that? What's a way of like? Is there any? Or do you have any examples of sounds in here that are noisy that you did that? Like you exaggerated the noise in a cool way, or?
I mean, a lot of times I'll get like, for example, this guy here, and I'll blast this thing up to like,
just to
24 dB, like louder. And let me see if I did anything in here where I exaggerated anything.
And actually, on that subject, this is actually totally relevant. We have another question from BK on Dirt. What distortion and compressors do you like to use?
Well, I have the analog heat, but then I also have an H9000, an Eventide H9000. When it comes to audio, when it comes to plugins, I really like the D16 stuff, all the D16 stuff. And
people might know D16, they do like a 909 emulation, a 303 emulation. They do that crazy 101, which is more than a 101. But they also have some really great, Decimort. That's one of the ones I couldn't remember the name of.
But then they
do some good audio effects.
The Isotope, I really like the Isotope. The new Isotope stuff is
like Trash
stuff is amazing. Yeah, Trash and like their reverbs is amazing. They have the reverb now where it automatically it doesn't cause what's it called? It's not phasing. Masking, so it has anti-masking on it.
Cool.
That reverb is one of the dopest reverbs out there. But when it comes to distortion and stuff, yeah, like the Decimort's really dope. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but the D16, that Decimort one is
Cool.
one for me for sure.
Yeah, that's funny. That's one that I knew about that I hadn't tried yet. So on your recommendation, I'm going to check that out.
See, look, I mean, there is some drive in here actually.
Okay.
Let me see, like here. Let me see what I did here. It might have just been Ableton. Wait.
Yeah, don't sleep. You can't sleep on the native plugins inside of Live.
See,
They're
so
good.
let me see the drive.
Just got to
The
tweak
drive
them
by itself. All right, so that's the high end, and then I went low end.
Oh, you're layering.
See, so I layered. I basically with this guy, a real low pass filter with a gate.
Okay.
And I put just massive brute compression on it.
All right. So you're just using the Live stuff with this, which again,
this is
works
all live.
just fine. You don't have to go for some expensive plugins.
And here I probably did. You see here, I use the overdrive.
Okay.
Over here. Oh, whoops. Use the overdrive with brute compression and a nice little gate. And then it'll, that sounds like. It has that cool sound.
Well, and then that's the same audio duplicated, processed separately. So you're doing parallel processing here.
Parallel processing.
That works really well.
And I didn't even throw a reverb on a send. I just threw it right on there.
Oh yeah, that's something I like to bring up in classes too. Is like, what you would use return effects for versus insert effects and. Why?
Yeah, auxiliaries like aux, like sends are usually used for me for time-based effects rather than dynamic-based effects. But in this instance, I said, let's just throw it right on there, so it's a little bit, so I can keep the wetness. So you'd say it's like 55, so I kept that wetness of the reverb. But usually I use the sends for time-based effects, so delays, echoes, reverbs, while on the channel, I use dynamic-based effects, which brute compression, anything like that. So, but yeah, here I just decided to throw it and see on the second one I didn't.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I didn't have a reverb on it.
You usually, not that you would never, but you usually don't put reverb on a sub layer. It's because it can cause muddiness and weird resonance and stuff. There are some exceptions to that. I've experimented with using really low frequency resonance for certain types of techno. But you can't go too low with it. Like if you go down below, like if you could put it like when you 70 hertz and up, if you have frequencies in your bass above where you have those problematic, areas with the really low stereo, like that can sound really cool. Especially if you're doing like rumbly techno, that can be really interesting as well. Like on like a really precisely designed kick drum to give it character. So not so. There are some times you would put reverb on low frequencies. You got to do it carefully though.
Yeah.
Nice. Someone asked about the name of the track we're listening to. Is it the one in the title there of the project?
Beautiful. It's called Beautiful Silver Box.
Beautiful Silver Box, which is that makes me think of 303, but
that's technically what it was going to start off as. There might be a 303 in here somewhere. But this, I actually don't know. A Beautiful Silver Box, I think it was because I was thinking about, what is it with the black box that airplanes have?
Ooh.
And this album is very space oriented. So I was thinking Beautiful Silver Box instead. UFO, multi-dimensional travel, talking to different entities. So instead of, Beautiful Black Box, Beautiful Silver Box. That's why.
Sorry, I got it wrong. The track you did in the plane, that's what this person was asking about.
Oh, the track that I did in the plane, that was a second track. Yeah, that was the second track that we showed, which was the Electro one, Positive Ventilation.
Oh, Positive Ventilation. So this one. Yeah. Nice.
That came out on Omnidisc.
All right, so they can if they want to check that out, it's available on that page I showed earlier.
Yeah, it's my late. I believe it's me and Defect. So me and Defect did like a split EP sort of thing.
Nice. So I have just gotten.
It's all about the bass there, for sure.
I have just gotten word. I'm going to let this play a little bit while we talk. I'm going back to our main page here. We've just got the winner announced of our giveaway this week. The Arturia, the copy of Arturia Pigments. It's Sheriff. Giveaway winner is Sheriff. So we're going to announce that in the chat right now. Congratulations, Sheriff. We're going to be in touch with you about how to collect your prize. And guess what? Checking the chat again. They were asking about my track on the plane. I am just totally missing today. I'm sorry. All right. It's called
your track.
It's called Flying Far. It was on my album for Ultra called Edge of Now.
Nice.
And it's kind of after hoursy, tech housey kind of a track, actually. It's a different style than what we've been talking about today.
Yeah, nice.
I'm actually, because we have a couple more minutes left, I'm going to throw on this last track that we didn't get to earlier. This one, it's called Twisted, right? This one's fun. I like this.
Yeah.
Definitely getting some heads nodding.
Going
here.
into the hip hop mode on this.
Yeah, but it's also very like electro informed, I would say.
Yeah. Now, and I'm rapping on it too.
Oh, it's you. Nice.
Yeah, I'm rapping on it. Yeah. That's all the Andromeda, Elyse's Andromeda.
Well, you know what? We haven't shown your studio. I wanted to see the Andromeda.
You want to check it out? I mean, you want to pull up?
Yeah, I got the remote camera on. I totally forgot about this that we set up. This is cool. So we could check out what you got going on in here.
That's that. Hold on.
I have always wanted one of these, but they're so rare and expensive and big.
Yeah.
If they were to recreate this as a module, oh my god.
No, that'd be crazy.
No, you need all the knobs, right?
Yeah, for sure. You need the knobs. That bad boy. That's my, that's the H9000 that I run a lot of stuff through, and then, that's me rapping right there. And then that's my other section over here. And I got some more stuff over here. Yeah.
Is that a Matrix Brute?
Yeah, Matrix Brute.
Nice. Well, it was as advertised in the studio with Danny Daze, and now you can see he is actually in the studio, and it is proper. Yeah, all right. I'm just going to get rid of that now.
Yeah, it's gone.
We're at the oh my god, what's happening portion of the show right now. I think it's the music. BK asked if you have any modular in the setup.
Yeah, I do. I have a little tiny modular system set up.
You got any interesting modules to speak of?
No, not really, to be honest. It's all like the shared system from Make Noise.
Oh, nice. So it's just like everything, like it's turnkey. Like you don't have to choose the modules. It's just a really dope setup ready to go.
Nah, I'm not too much of a modular person. Like I was, and then I learned that I'd rather just have knobs and just because if not I got lost. I would get lost in just like input, output, and I would never finish anything.
I kind of feel the same way about modular. I think it's amazing. I love to see what you can do. I feel like making music with a modular setup is too many steps. Sound design with a modular and then capturing that and then working with
it. That's what you got to do.
Like I think about sometimes like building a small rack with geared towards sort of experimental effects weirdness that I could run stuff through or generate weird drones or just stuff to sample as raw material to use on the
I don't see myself ever being like Richard Devine or anything, you know, like there's no way I'm gonna I'll never finish anything if I was like Richard Devine.
I don't know how he can do it, man.
I like this little setup. I like having modular when I need it. And then all my different synthesizers, they all do something different.
That's great. Oh, one more question for you. We're almost at the end of the show. Tao asked, I believe, how do you like the Circlon? Is that something you use regularly?
Yeah, that's my main sequencer right there.
Okay.
That's my main sequencer. That's what I run. That's the brains of the studio. And I do, I can run from Ableton through it as well. So if I want to draw MIDI notes in Ableton, I can just run through it, which I do that as well. So it's the Circlone is amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
very hard to find right now. It's very hard to get.
There's a long waiting list for it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna slip in one last question because I have the same, and that is, how is the learning curve for the Andromeda? It seems challenging to program.
It's extremely challenging to program, and I have no idea what I'm doing.
Aha. So you just like, you get the sequence going, you turn some knobs, and whatever comes out that you like, you capture that and
I mean,
arrange it.
you know, I can definitely go in and you know, and modify if I want to send an LFO to the oscillator or whatever. But it's an insane synth. So I tend to not menu dive. I tend to menu dive while I'm doing it, but I don't want to waste too much time, because if not, if I'm here just like tweaking out and being like, oh, what does this thing do? It's great, but I'd rather finish music. And
Right there with you.
as I'm finishing music, I'm actually learning the synth as well. So I would say I probably know that synth maybe 25%. I know 25% of it. You know, if I really wanted to sit down and just menu dive one day, I'll do it, but I never do. There's just no need. I know enough to get by, and I slowly learn more. Every single time I make a new track, I'll learn another 2% of the synth, and then I'll learn another 2% until you really know what the hell you're doing, you know, there's always going to be something you're not going to know.
I think, and I see here Shelly agrees that that's actually some really good advice, is to make music with the synth. You don't have to, you just start making music with it. You will learn how to do things as you make music. So
For example,
first,
yeah,
definitely.
I have the Circlone like book right next to me. Whenever I'm like, oh, damn, how can I modulate the velocity, or how can I, you know, I'll just look it up and I'll be like, oh,
when
there
you
go.
run into a problem, like, hey, I want to do this in my track, how does it work? Yeah, look it up in the moment. Nice.
That's it. That's the best way to do it.
Nice. You've had a lot of interesting things to say, and I like the music that you're working on right now. I can't wait to hear the whole album. What's the name of the album, by the way?
Communication.
Communication.
That's a working title right now, but it's more than likely going to be called Communication. Right. Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye out for that. Thanks again for being my guest today. This has been amazing. Really
Thank
enjoyed
you
hanging out and getting to know you a little bit better. And I don't know. Hopefully you'll stay in touch. Maybe we'll have you back one day if you like.
Totally down.
And very good. Thanks to everybody in the chat today. We've had really good questions today. Congratulations again to our winner of Arturia Pigments, Sheriff of Slur Records. Nice. So again, thanks to everybody. Let's see. I don't have what I was going to say. I'm having like a brain thing right now. It's time for lunch. Let me just take a drink of water. We're going over time and I'm losing it.
Yeah, it's fine.
I was just going to say, I'm still sorting out what my next couple of shows are going to be. So that's all. I should have just said nothing rather than to give up that I don't have it set up yet.
I gotta get you Anthony Rother on here. That's what I gotta do.
Help me get Anthony Rother. He's been here in the chat a couple times. So I'm hoping that he'll be up.
I'm gonna hit him up.
Yeah,
I'm gonna hit him up and see if he's down. He loves doing stuff like this. So I'll hit him up and see if he's down.
So I don't know if you're out there today, Anthony, but we're gonna drop you a line.
Nice.
And, all right. That's going to be it today. Thanks, everybody. Have a good one, Danny. And
peace.
Adios.
Bye. Cheers.